You didn't want to give up any of your prospects. You didn't. So now you're stuck with what you got. Phillies Nation, maybe it's time to give the Phillies a standing ovation tonight or something. Maybe that'll jumpstart them and get them back on track. You guys love giving standing ovations. Maybe that's the answer. We're talking Phillies and their lack of trade deadline and their lack of life. We're talking Eagles training camp. Special guest Jeff Warren, Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast, joins us in a half hour. Guys, we got it all. Your thoughts and opinions and live in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Wherever you are watching, please do me that favor. Hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, that follow button, whatever buttons you can find to hit, to share, to tell one, to tell all, to get interactive with the show, to find the show, to get in here and have your opinions heard. That is the most important thing of this show, the place where your opinions actually matter. My opinions might not be too popular today, at least with the Phillies. But we're talking Phillies and their free fall. We're talking the Eagles and them riding high. We're talking with Jeff Warren in a little bit. We've got lots happening today on the show. And look, yes, the Phillies are struggling mightily right now, and it's not getting any better. And while a lot of teams made a lot of moves yesterday, the Phillies, they stayed fairly quiet at the trade deadline yesterday. Yeah, I know they made some moves a couple days ago, a week ago, but this Phillies team is free falling. And a lot of other teams, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Yankees, all made bold moves to try to bolster their team for the playoff run. And the Phillies didn't. And quite frankly, I'm surprised, I'm shocked, I'm disappointed in Phillies Nation and how okay they are with how mild of a trade deadline that the Phillies have had. I'm shocked at how easy Phillies Nation is letting Dave Dombrowski off the hook. I'm surprised at how easy Phillies Nation is letting the Phillies players off the hook. I want you to be pissed off. When the Eagles fell apart last year, we didn't give them a pass. We weren't giving them, it's okay. They'll get it back together. No, we were fired up. The Phillies seem to be getting a pass right now. And it's kind of frustrating. So that's on the agenda today. Eagles-wise, we're going to talk about the greatest camp battle that we are going to see over the next 5 to 10 years. Quinyon Mitchell versus A.J. Brown is going to be so fun every season during the training camp season. Their battles yesterday in camp, fantastic from all reports. Gotta love to see that. Lots of other Eagles thoughts, conversations, comments from yesterday's practice. So that's on the agenda. We'll be joined by a special guest, Jeffrey Warren. He's the host of the longest-running Philadelphia sports podcast there is, Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast, He'll join us at 8:30. We'll get his opinions in just a little bit on the Eagles and the Phillies. But right to the comments, my eyes. Again, I tried to explain it. They look closed because I got to look down at the screen. The camera's up there. I can't look at you and see your comments at the same time. So, yeah. How's Eagles camp? Eagles camp is going fantastically at this point. Still early. Who cares? Yes, Rashad Penny did retire. What up with Will Shipley? Well, we spent some time talking Will Shipley yesterday. If you want, we can get into him in a little bit. Brad, what's up? Hey, good morning. Your thoughts on Phillies getting Tanner Banks? Meh. Look, you needed to be aggressive at the deadline, Brad. You needed to help give the Phillies every possible opportunity to win this World Series. And Tanner Banks in, Gregory Soto out. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, Estevez and Hayes were nice additions last weekend, but you still need it more. You still need it a lot more. And bringing in Tanner Banks would have been okay, but then you go and you move Gregory Soto too. So you've brought in 2 bullpen arms, but gotten rid of Soto and Dominguez in the process. But don't worry, we saved all our prospects, all our good prospects. We traded Soto and we got a guy, Seth Johnson, 25, who instantly becomes our 10th best prospect in our system. Not good enough for me. This Phillies team is not any better, and it doesn't seem like there's any way for this Phillies team to have a fire lit under them, Brad. Nobody's stepping up. Nobody's Trey Turner saying, oh, no, we don't need anybody to throw anything in the locker room. We're fine. No, that is not what we want to hear right now, Brad. So this Phillies team needed a jump start by making a bold trade. And I don't want to say Jazz Chisholm, it would have been the answer, but you couldn't trade for him because he's a cancer in the locker room or he's going to cost too much. What did he do over the last couple games, against the Phillies? Completely destroyed us. God forbid we trade away a kid that's 19 that might be good in 5 years. Everybody got better yesterday. Everybody we're competing with got better yesterday. Now, even the Braves, there was rumors that Max Fried might actually be back later this season. It's like a trade deadline acquisition. Maybe it's time, again, like I said, for Phillies Nation to go down to Citizens Bank Park and just give them a standing ovation for striking out. That way we jumpstart them again. Because it's up to us, the fans, to jumpstart them because we know they don't jumpstart themselves. Yes, Eagles brought in my opinion, a camp body. Former Giants and Cowboys center, interior offensive line, Nick Gates yesterday. My opinion, that's because Tyler Steen's been hurt. Maybe Tyler Steen is hurt a little bit worse than we realized. We need another camp body. Doesn't really do anything for me. He's mostly played center. He's played guard as well in his career. About 5 years with the Giants and Commanders. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really do anything. Good morning, little G. Hope you are well. Harper doesn't run out a lot of grounders, Walter. Just so you know. He doesn't run out a lot of grounders. Man, I don't know, Walter, how old you are. But if you're old enough to remember the Jimmy Rollins era, how much we used to crush Jimmy Rollins for not running out grounders. How much we used to beg Charlie Manuel to bench Jimmy Rollins because he wouldn't run out grounders. But yet here we are. Bryce Harper doesn't run him out. He hasn't been running him out all year. What, do you want him to hurt his hamstring running out to first base? That's the answer that you get when you try to criticize Harper for that. Last night was not the first time that he could have beaten out a grounder this year, but didn't because he didn't run it out. Not the first time at all. And honestly, I want to see more outrage like this, Walter. I want to see more people upset about him. Why you draft 2 late-round wide receivers? Well, the light wide receivers, Smith, not doing well in camp. Wilson had a good day yesterday. Had a really nice touchdown catch using his height in camp yesterday. Eagles so loader. We have reports about tight end CJ Uzma. Yeah, I mean, he's fringe. Looks like Grant Calcaterra is going to be the tight end 2 right now, at least early in camp. So Uzma would be your third tight end, maybe. Oh, that's about it. That's all I got there. Yeah. Aquaboma might not even make the team as of today, based off of reports from camp. Good morning, Joe. How are you? I am always okay. Never a bad day in my life. Secondary so loaded now. We hope so. There are only two positions that Eagles are doo-doo, edge and center. Well, I don't know about center. And edge, we're going to discuss that in a little bit. Yes, Austin Hayes got his first home run as a Philly. Great, good. I mean, there was the rumor or the stat or the analytics stat that he would have had, I forget what it was, like 15 more home runs if he wasn't playing in Baltimore with they made it harder to hit a home run in Baltimore. Um, Look, Austin Hayes is a good player, but is Austin Hayes alone with Rojas and Marsh and Nick Castellanos? Is that really the four outfielders and Weston Wilson, I guess five outfielders that we're going into the playoffs with? Seems like it. We'll see. I got to see more of Austin Hayes myself versus what I read about him. I'm an eye test kind of guy. That espresso sucks this morning. Out of vanilla flavoring. So I just got a plain espresso. It's not as good. Look, Austin Hayes is better than having Pache out there. Austin Hayes is better than if you get one less game a week of Rojas. Which I think since Hayes has gotten here, we haven't seen Rojas start yet, have we? It's been Marsh and center every day. I had this weird feeling that Brandon Marsh was going to get traded, but that didn't come out. Eagles will win the division, but after that, not sure they will win a playoff game. Well, I'm more concerned that the Phillies won't win a playoff game. But the Eagles, I am nothing but excessive positivity coming out of me with the Eagles right now. I know it's just camp. I know yesterday was the first day with pads on. Yesterday, they stayed focused on red zone work yesterday. Get all that. Get it all. But I don't know of anything but positivity coming out of camp. Some questionable things with the offensive line, with the right guard situation. Becton, Steen. Nobody really running away with the guard position. You've had Dickerson and Lane Johnson miss time so far. So the depth on the offensive line is questionable, so to say. The defensive edge department, there's been some positives with Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, some negatives with Bryce Huff. So we're on the fence there. But for the most part, there is not one negative thing that I can say about the Philadelphia Eagles through what I think yesterday was the fifth or sixth practice open to the media. They had one walkthrough closed and one day off. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8. So yeah, yesterday was today will be the sixth practice for this team so far. That's open to us, 7 practices total. And again, yesterday was another like 90-minute practice. They're definitely practicing longer, more physically, and more demanding. The attention to detail is being taken care of. Where's the attention to detail with the Phillies? It don't look like there's any attention to detail to the Phillies. Looks like they just go out there and do whatever they want. Nobody hold anybody accountable on the Phillies. Just imagine the difference between Phillies fans and Eagles fans. The Eagles lose 2 games in a row last year, and I know shorter season in football. We are freaking out. Hell, winning ugly, we're freaking out. But the Phillies of what? 4-9, 4-10, something like that lately. Since the Dodgers series, they got a less than 500 record since they've gotten back from London, like 20-21 or something like that. The Phillies are literally sleepwalking. Literally, Phillies Nation the last 2 years laughed and joked and criticized the Braves for winning all these games early, but then sleepwalking into the playoffs and then getting knocked out because of that. Phillies are doing the exact same thing. But there's half of Phillies Nation like, it's okay. Don't worry. We'll be fine. We got $300 million players. We'll be fine. No, even $300 million players sometimes need a fire lit under their ass. Somebody's got to go in there and do something. The leaders of this team got to do something, but they're not. Do you think? Well, I mean, we needed somebody to step up last year for the Eagles, and instead the Eagles locker room fell apart. But it's just such a drastic night and day opinion from Philadelphia sports fans between the two organizations when the going gets tough. And could you imagine if Joel Embiid was shooting what Bryce Harper's hitting right now? Hell, when Joel Embiid doesn't run up the court full speed, we kill him. But if Bryce Harper doesn't run out of ground ball, it's okay. You don't want him to hurt his hamstring. There's such a double standard with the Phillies. And I don't know why. Phillies guaranteed a losing record in July. That's not what I want to hear, Walter. That's not going to bring my spirits up this morning. Today is the last day of July. I can't believe today's July 31st. I really can't. This month has flown by between the 4th of July, between the big power outages in Chester County because of the storms a few weeks ago, between work in general, between the show. This month has flown on by. The Phillies have finally taken on Rob Thompson's personality as a wet paper towel. One of this guy's jobs is to motivate his team. I said that last night, Michael, on Twitter. And I was told by multiple people, what is Rob Thompson supposed to do? He is not swinging and missing. He is not popping out. He is not throwing meatballs over the plate. So because you can't criticize the Phillies, Michael. Because when they do well, the manager's great. But when they do bad, it's not the manager's fault. Again, put Rob Thompson and the situation in front of Eagles Nation, and Eagles Nation would be killing him. Where's Barbara when you need her in the comments to criticize Rob Thompson? I promised, and I've stuck to my promise and not criticizing Rob Thompson for about 2/3 of this season. But I'm finding it very hard to hold my tongue on Rob Thompson, the manager. The only silver lining is it's happening now and not in September. But right, Michael. And they got all of August to snap out of it. But baseball isn't basketball. You can't flip the switch and all of a sudden be good. It's a lot different. Once you get into bad habits in baseball, it's very hard to break them in the season. You need something to spark them. And right now, the Phillies don't have a spark. They don't have anything. Nothing going in the right way right now for them. I'm not a Robbie guy. Well, I've never been a Robbie guy. I've tried my best to keep that quiet this year because I've been told that my Rob Thompson hate is too strong. But it is what it is. Brian saying it's time to worry about the Phillies. You're exactly right. No accountability on this team. Remember, Rollins not running out of ball and Charlie sat him. So if this slide continues, it might be up there with the. Yeah, well, I already said that. That, somebody brought up Bryce Harper not running out that grounder in the ninth. It might have been hit a little harder, even if he did bust it. Maybe he wouldn't have, but whatever. We used to kill Jimmy Rollins on a nightly basis when he wouldn't hustle. But Bryce Harper doesn't hustle. It's okay. It's Bryce Harper. I don't get the double standard. Has Phillies Nation gone soft? Maybe that's what the problem is. I haven't been to a game this year. Is Phillies Nation booing this team? Were they booing last night at the park? Phillies Nation's gone soft. Thing about baseball is you can't motivate players to hit better. They're either in the zone or not. Yeah, but hold on. Let me think about how to properly answer this. All right, so it's not that you can motivate baseball players to hit better, but you can motivate them to maybe have a little bit more concentration, mister. Maybe a little bit more focus. Maybe a little bit less. You see the personalities of these players on the field today in the past couple weeks, just looking, I don't really care. Get me to October. They stop just swinging at everything that's thrown up there. Discipline at the plate. Things like that you can motivate. And then the thing is, if I said this the other day, if they're losing the Phillies, but you see effort, it's okay. Right now they're losing and you're not getting any effort. And that's the problem. Managerial change in 80, Dallas Green wins the World Series. 83, Pollins takes over and they lose the World Series. Phillies need a bench clearing brawl. They should have happened when Hayes got hit. They need something. I mean, I'm not going to encourage a fight, but they need something like that to kind of pull the team back together. Oh, Matt Strom, the bullpen as a whole has started to level out. I mean, Matt Strom's been pretty phenomenal this year. His last 2 or 3 outings, Joe, have been no bueno. That's Spanish for no good, I think. I just say that. Look, this is a master class of a collapse right now for the Phillies. Master class of it. A sports team will resemble their head coach or manager, and this is true of the Phillies under Rob Thompson. Choke jobs. Yeah. I've been saying this for the Sixers under Doc Rivers, the Phillies under Joe Girardi, the Eagles under Nick Sirianni, Charlie Manuel, Brett Brown, everybody that's been in Philadelphia as a coach for years. John Tortorella, they mimic that with the Flyers. You resemble the personality of your leader, your boss. Well, Rob Thompson, as somebody said before, has the personality of a wet towel, and that's how they play right now. How about Robbie shaking up the lineup? I don't know if the lineup shakeup really is necessary. I think maybe you bench a guy, bench Bryce Harper for a game, bench Trey Turner, healthy scratch, and then not say, I wanted to give him a day off. They know they suck. We need a little bit of that Vic Fangio honesty coming from the coaches on the Phillies, because we spend 20 minutes the other day talking about how refreshing Vic Fangio's honesty is in Eagles press conferences. But we don't want Rob Thompson to be that honest. I don't think Rob Thompson could. Turner, Stott, Harper, Bone, Kyle, JT, Nick, Hayes, Marsh. Look, I think Kyle Schwarber's been good enough. You're not dropping Kyle Schwarber that far down. You're leaving Harper and Bone where they are. I think I would love that lineup in general, but JT's been pretty awful outside last night. Nick Castellanos is one of the best hitters on the team right now. So I don't know if you want to do that either. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't. I think it more has to be internally handled, the problems of the Phillies. The problems of the Phillies have to be handled by the leaders of the team, by the manager of this team. Hell, anybody on this team. Somebody needs to step up and light a fire. Yeah, I remember. I would say, no, we're good. Look, I see the thing, K1, and if you're just joined us, I've been talking about this for 20 minutes now, is the difference between how Phillies Nation reacts to this versus Eagles Nation reacts to problems or downturns in Eagles, seasons. If this Phillies season was going on and it was really the Eagles, the way it was playing out, Eagles Nation would be so up in arms. Fire this guy, cut this guy, this guy's a bum, that guy this. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't see that, it's okay, we'll be fine. Anytime you say a goddamn negative thing about the Phillies on social media, you're told you don't know ball, or relax, or Rob Thompson has a winning record or whatnot. Like, I don't know. The Phillies were the only bumbling fool team to hire Rob as a manager. Well, he was, interim promoted, and then they took us to the World Series. So he kind of were backdoored into it. I said that he didn't have to be the manager after 22, but the Phillies kind of had their hands forced there, and I get why they made him the full-time manager. But it doesn't mean Rob Thompson's a good manager. There's a reason why he was a bench coach all his career. Remember, Rob Thompson was going to retire before the 2022 season. He had to be begged to stay as a bench coach, and then the rest is history. So, again, I've gone 2/3 of the season without criticizing Rob Thompson because I was told I'm too critical of the guy. I'm this close to ending the moratorium on criticizing Rob Thompson. This close. I'm one or two more bad losses away, and then the lid's coming off. When I do my hot take, it's going to happen soon. Been calling for Rob Head since he was hired. Look, I want it. Joe Girardi gone in 22 more than anybody. That being said, oh, that coffee is so bad. Isn't the worst thing? I don't know if you're a coffee drinker, but isn't it the worst thing in the world when you brew your cup of coffee for the morning and it just sucks? What happens? There's no vanilla. And that's my problem. What's this say? Go ahead, call it off. Rob is way too laid back. They need a Larry Bell. Look, Ross, I said this a couple days ago on Twitter. No, where's Larry Bell when you need it to go into the locker room and just take a baseball bat to a Gatorade jug and just smash it? Thinking of in the movie Moneyball, when Brad Pitt's character, Billy Bean, runs in there because they're partying in the locker room and he smashes the radio. That's what the Phillies need right now. Maybe. I don't know if that's the answer. Some people will tell me that today's athlete can't be treated like that. They'll get too grumpy, or like they can't be yelled at in this soft world. Man. Something's got to change. Something's got to get. And if it's not Rob Thompson doing it, because he can't do what Larry Boa does or did do, then one of the leaders of this team. Where's Kyle Schwarber stepping up and firing off? Where's Bryce Harper's passion in that locker room? Trey Turner don't have that kind of leadership ability. JT Realmuto doesn't strike me as that guy. Everybody likes each other too much. And I love that they're close-knit and they hang out together. Somebody's got to say something. And I don't know who that person is. Well, Dombrowski's the bumbling fool for not making a better trade or more trades yesterday at the deadline. So they get a legitimate leadoff hitter, all these launch angle analytics. Look, I'm old school like you. I'm not into launch angles and analytics, but I have skipped criticizing Kyle Schwarber, the leadoff hitter. It's not typical. It's not ideal, but it works. I'll say that. Did Bryce lollygag it? I mean, that's what I kind of feel and so I feel, but it's no big deal because you don't want him to hurt his hamstring. If you say that out loud, Ross, be prepared to be told that you don't want him to hurt his hamstring. So let him not run it out. Well, I have one. I bought an espresso machine for my wife, but we were out of, I need vanilla. I can't just go just straight espresso with the foam on top. I need flavor in it. And the vanilla bottle, I have a vanilla syrup bottle, and it was all out. And I forgot to buy some yesterday. So I just have plain espresso right now, and it is kicking my ass because it tastes like shit. The Phillies need a manager that holds every player accountable. Absolutely. They need a John Tortorella type. You think John Tortorella would be accepting this lack of playing? Like, no. At least they didn't get fleeced like the O's. Did the O's get fleeced? I never fault executives for making big, bold moves when there's an opportunity to win, even if you overpay. Dave Dombrowski didn't want to overpay. Dave Dombrowski didn't want to give up Adam Miller or Andrew Painter or Justin Crawford or whoever else. Well, now we're stuck with what we got. We are fine. Best record in baseball. I told y'all, now these homers are worried. Look, I'm ready to worry. I think, as the title of the show, Eagles are flying high and the Phillies are falling fast. See, I just threw the title into the show. Kind of like when you see a movie and they say the movie name in the dialogue. Yeah, he does. And he hits a lot of home runs. And what? I'm over the Kyle Schwarber leadoff conversation at this point. It's never going to change. And he does do well in that role. He even personally performs better in that role than elsewhere in the lineup. So I'm okay with it. Yeah. If they're worried about the hamstring, that they let him be the ghost runner where we wouldn't have scored on the. Yeah, look. I'm not saying they are worried about his hamstring. Phillies Nation is that's the excuse they give you when you criticize Bryce Harper for not running out a grounder all year, not just last night. That's what you don't want him to push it too hard in July because we need him in October. Hey, right now, there's a better chance of the Eagles going 21-0, which is undefeated right through a Super Bowl victory. There's a better chance of this happening than the Phillies winning a playoff series right now. Guys, with that being said, I want to just shout out one of our sponsors real quick because we got our special guest. Guys, make sure you check out phillysportstrips.com. If you don't want to go to a Phillies game, maybe you might want to go to an Eagles game, a tailgate, something like that. phillysportstrips.com. Sign up on their website. Mention EOP and Train the AM. If you can't get to Brazil, they're going to have a great watch party at 23rd Street Armory in South Philly, September 6th. E-Rock will be DJing. EOP will be there. They also have all their other great Birds takeover trips to Tampa, to New York, to Baltimore, Dallas week in Dallas in November. So check them out. phillysportstrips.com, EOP. And with that being said, I want to welcome in our special guest of the day, my good friend Jeffrey Warren of the Philadelphia Sports Table podcast, the longest running Philadelphia sports podcast. Never fact check that, but we're going to continue with it. Doing this morning.
Good, buddy. How are you? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm glad you're working from home so I can get you on the show. Yep. And I know I told you we talk Eagles, and we will talk a lot of Eagles. But the commenters and the viewers this morning are really fired up over the Phillies. And this, as the title says, falling fast. The Phillies are falling fast. Are you in panic mode yet with the Phillies? The question's as simple as that.
Not panic mode, but I'm scared at this moment here. Bad things are happening with this team for sure, Phil. And things are snowballing here. That's why I'm scared. And look, they're going to be heading out west on a West Coast trip that includes playing teams that are going to be really challenging, like the Mariners, the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks, I believe, is that last series before they come back and play the Marlins. I am not in complete 100% panic mode right now at this point, but I am scared right now because look, after that Dodgers series, there was a drop in energy with this team, and especially after that first loss to the A's. I was actually with my family at the final game of that A's series where it was a bullpen pitching session throughout that game. Garrett Stubbs was out on the mound in the 9th inning, and the energy was just low. Going into that last game, they just wanted to get to the All-Star break, and I had a fear after watching that, Phil, that they would come out of this All-Star break looking like a different type of team with the energy not necessarily being there. And that's what we've seen, actually. We have not seen that energy that we saw during the first half of the season.
You mentioned Stubbs, and it was funny because the other night the game was falling apart. I'm like, oh, we're cruising towards another Garrett Stubbs appearance.
Yeah.
And then I was just joking. And then there he is pitching in the game because it's free falling, so fast.
Yeah.
You're an older guy like me, 80s baseball, 90s baseball. Everybody keeps talking about how the Phillies need a Larry Bowa type, blow up in the locker room. But the majority of current Phillies nation will respond to you with, well, this type of current modern day athlete doesn't respond to that kind of, smash a baseball bat, flip the table, that doesn't work nowadays in sports. So what do you do then? If Larry Bowa isn't the answer, or Larry Bowa's style isn't the answer, somebody's got to step up. Rob Thompson's too nonchalant to really do anything. The leaders of this team aren't those kind of players. We don't have a Lenny Dykstra on this team. So what do you do? How do you break out of this funk? Internally, something's got to give.
And it's one of the reasons why, Phil, to be honest, I'm not in panic mode yet, because I do think that they are at some point going to get out of this. I think they just need 2 wins in a row at this point to actually get back on track, to get some confidence back. I don't necessarily think one individual like a Larry Bowa type is really going to get the needle moving with where the energy is with this team. We talk about Larry Bowa, we talk about different eras of this Phillies organization over the decades that we've watched ever since we've been young kids, Phil, and different eras call for different types of baseball, different types of leadership. And I think the one thing that's really prevalent is that there are leaders on this team. And it just stinks. Like I said, everybody seems to be in a slump right now. They're just letting each other down too. And we see this in baseball every now and again. This isn't something that's new or brand new to the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, at the end of the day, they're letting each other down. I mean, this is a season, and we're not used to it this season. This is a season where when the pitching has been faltering, the bats were able to come alive during games. And when the bats were cold at times, the pitching was able to come alive and help save the day. Now this team, they're not necessarily helping each other. I don't necessarily think there's one individual or one type of leadership quality that's really going to move the needle. They just need a couple wins in a row. I feel like they need to, quote, get lucky, and that's saying a lot for professional sports here, but we see that in professional sports a lot, Phil. I think that the Phillies are going to get back on track. I'm scared, but I'm not at panic mode yet. I think they're going to right the ship, and it's going to take some time here. The West Coast trip is going to be really, really telling.
Sometimes those West Coast trips can bring a team together, or if they're fracturing, almost make the fracture, bigger. Talking about what they needed, like I'm thinking, was it Sunday's game or Monday's game with the really bad home plate umpire where I believe it was Kevin Long got thrown out of the game?
Yes.
Like, I'm like, here's the spark. Kevin Long's fired up. He's shouting. He's getting ejected. This is what the team needs. But that didn't spark it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's when something like I remember watching Kevin Long's, personality come out a little bit more there. I'm like, this is it. This is what the team needs. But it didn't help.
Right.
And that's when the panic mode finally started to set in with me, when a spark like that isn't enough.
Right.
Now maybe we need Kyle Schwarber, getting fired up and thrown out of a game from an umpire. Someone suggested earlier, a bench clearing brawl. Which we're not suggesting fighting, but
right.
Something that brings the team together. I don't know what it is, but it is super frustrating. And I just think there's such a big difference between Eagles Nation and Phillies Nation.
Yes,
Phillies
absolutely.
Nation is accepting of this. If this was happening, but you put Eagles fans in the Phillies chairs, this would not be acceptable at all. Like, there'd be a lot of booing going on at Citizens Bank Park right now if this was Eagles fans.
I think you get a couple guys going, Phil, and one of those guys that desperately needs to get going because he has now been cold for some time, Bryce Harper, the star of this team, the guy who in clutch positions and situations, high leverage situations, is going to be able to put you over the top. What is he now? Like, I think he's like 20 or 2 of 29 or something like that in his last at bats. It's completely unacceptable. Bryson Stott just completely crapping the bed. You get two guys, whether it's Alec Boehm, Bryce Harper, even Nick Castellanos, if he's able to come to the plate and even get, I'll say this, okay? Even if these guys have to get or try to get to a mentality, and if it's Bryce Harper too, where you're not just hitting for power, if you play some small ball every now and then, it's not a bad thing in Major League Baseball. It's something we've been talking about. I've been talking about on my podcast platform over the past few years with this Phillies team. If you play small ball, you're going to be able to get guys on bases. You're going to have opportunities in front of you, especially during games like last night's game where you're going to extra innings. Everybody's tired. Everybody's hot out there playing this game. You have a high leverage situation. Playing small ball sometimes really does work. If a couple of these guys start to get back into form, mainly Bryce Harper, I think we're going to end up seeing some sort of snowball and confluence of other guys really stepping up to the plate too, and maybe getting that energy back.
Some fun comments from some of the listeners right now. They want to know, you guys got way too many guitars in the background. 5 is two is okay, but 5 is overcompensating.
Well, I got a lot of
guitars back there.
Well, I do. I've been playing guitar since I was 10 years old, believe it or not. I got my first guitar when I was 10 years old, and I had 8 years of lessons from the time I was 10 up until I graduated high school when I was 18 years old. And it's it's part of I'm in my little home recording studio here. I write and record music, so different guitars, different tones. I love them.
Mr. saying you have a radio voice and complimenting your enunciation of your words. Well, he enunciates well because he's a politician too.
Oh, gosh.
This guy is going to run for president in about 8 years right here. He's got my vote already.
I'm a public servant. That's what
That's right. Yeah. Again, saying that, K1. Yeah, the practice that he does cliches very magnificent.
Oh gosh. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I love it. But back to the sports conversation for a second. do you think that Dave Dombrowski was smart to not make any more moves yesterday? I mean, I know he brought in Tanner Banks. I mean, but then they shipped Soto out. So they basically just flipped lefty relievers in the pen. And I know people are scared to trade prospects, but something we've been talking about for 2 weeks on this show now is that I don't care. You've got a window to win. You go all in. You worry about 10 years from now. There's no such thing to me as an untouchable. Would you have liked to have seen Dave Dombrowski be a little bit more aggressive to shake? If the players can't shake it up, if the manager can't shake it up, shouldn't have been on Dave Dombrowski to shake it up a little bit and maybe bring some real life into this clubhouse.
And that is the real issue, the real question. That's the real underlying foundation, what you just said, to bring life into the clubhouse. I don't know, Phil, if a new trade acquisition would have been able to get this team to where they need to be and get themselves out of this rut. I honestly don't know if they had done what the Padres did. I mean, the Padres went out and they gave up the moon for Tanner Scott. I mean, impact bats really didn't seem like they were available necessarily at this trade deadline. When we take a look at, hindsight being 2020, we look at what other teams did, what other teams didn't do. So I'm not sure that a high impact bat was really available here at the trade deadline, but I don't know if they would have been able to bring a guy in here and it would have been a 180 type of difference maker at all. Now, Tanner Banks, I mean, upgrading over Gregory Soto because nobody could trust Soto as far as they could throw him. Look, the guy doesn't have a ton of experience, but obviously Dave Dombrowski is seeing something, I think, in this kid. It's a wait and see with all of these guys. Carlos Estevez, Austin Hayes even. I mean, Austin Hayes had a pretty good night last evening. We'll see what happens. I mean, and every day.
He was the only pitcher to get a 1-2-3 inning last night. So,
absolutely.
Deebs wants a pop quiz for you. Pop quiz, hot shot.
Oh, God.
What's your favorite song to play on the guitar?
My favorite song to play? I would say I'm going to go back to the Metallica Black Album, and honestly, I would say The Unforgiven. It's one of my favorites, including the guitar solo, the solo. I'm a metal guy. I love rock. I mostly love metal music. One of my favorite groups right now, actually has been probably for the past 8 years, I shouldn't just say right now, is Killswitch Engage. This right here, this is lyrics that the lead singer actually wrote for me, and it was I love playing Killswitch Engage music, any metal music.
All right, let's get to something positive. Let's talk Eagles. Because when I initially asked you to come on, it was to talk Eagles. It was to talk training camp. Obviously, as the Phillies are falling, the Eagles are starting, and they're starting really well. I don't think I have read from one beat reporter, one guy on the ground at camp, one negative thing that's been going on. There have been a few times this or that from backups and all, but everything is coming out super positive. The vibes are really high. All the concerns about the locker room collapse last year kind of set aside. Even the media is kind of moving on from that and focusing on the good right now. Before we get into specifics, are you feeling the same way? The vibes are moving very high right now. Yes. Everything is clicking right. I'll bite in 5 practices, but everything looks and sounds right now for the Philadelphia Eagles.
One, there isn't a major injury. And when I mean a major injury, I'm talking an ACL to a major contributor on this team. That's why vibes are good right now. And I think the fact that we know that Jalen Hurts is coming into this camp and into this season healthy. I mean, last year he really was banged up. I don't think we really understood the extent to which he was banged up. And what we've heard so far from camp with him, even with Kenny Pickett, looking very, very good so far. Being able to throw these passes and just on a dime down the field. The contributors so far in camp, they're contributing and they're doing everything they should. And Phil, at the end of the day, this is a team that looks absolutely fantastic on paper. They do. Yeah, I mean, we know. How long have we been talking about it on our podcast platforms here, where they should be going to the NFC Championship game based on the talent on the roster, how great they look on paper. But we know that in season things happen. Things get diverted, injuries happen, and and that's where the coaching comes into play. What kind of and that's where I hesitate a little bit, Phil, as we're moving forward when it comes to training camp. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in these preseason games. who gets injured, and how this brand new coaching staff, you have a brand new offensive coordinator, a brand new defensive coordinator. What are the relationships like with the players and those two coordinators? Because last year, toward the end of the season, as we know, it just wasn't good. It just was not good on both sides of the ball. And somehow Nick Sirianni was able to come out of that, continuing to be the head coach. I'm more interested and, quote, concerned. I will say, quote, concerned about certain aspects of this team, especially from a defensive perspective, that I think could potentially bite this team if the coaching staff, Vic Fangio, and these players kind of don't see eye to eye and have that relationship heading into the season.
Yeah, you mentioned Vic Fangio, the defense. Something that you always see, especially when teams change a coordinator or a coach or something like that. Early in camp, the defense is always way ahead of the offense early on.
Yeah.
But you hear Jalen Hurts in the mini camp say, "Oh, it's 95% new." But through 4 or 5 of the first 6 practices, the offense is head and shoulders further ahead of the defense.
Yes.
And I don't know if that gives me concerns for the defense or, extra positivity towards the offense. I kind of feel like it's both. One, it tells me how Jalen Hurts and the offense are moving on from last year, and they're ready to go. They're not going to let a new offense hold them back. But again, then what's that say about the defense when it was kind of a similar defensive scheme that they're running? So do you look at that the offense is so far ahead of the defense as a positive, or are you looking the negative side that maybe the defense has a lot more work than we realize to do?
I think the defense has a lot more work than we realize. I do, because when you lose a veteran presence like Fletcher Cox up front, you're looking to see where the defensive tackle position is going to go in the future, with amazing talent. But I really want to see Josh Sweat take it to the next level. I really want to see. I'm looking at. I just looked at the comment. Thank you very much.
I loves to stir it up in the comments with some fun things. So.
I also want to see where Nolan Smith is going to go. This is huge in terms of this pass rush. The pass rush faltered a lot of times last year, and this is essentially one of the youngest defensive lines that this Eagles team has had in quite some time. The development needs to happen soon. I would venture to say quickly. And I am extremely concerned. We've been talking about it on our podcast platform of where this defensive line is going to go this year. I'm very concerned about that. I would say equally with regard to the linebackers too. I really would, because Nolan Smith, great things out of camp thus far. And like you said, it's been 5 practices, but let's see what happens with these preseason games.
Talking about the edge rushers, the defensive line, the linebackers. I've been saying it for weeks, months. How are we going to replace Hassan Reddick, et cetera? His sack total, and is Bryce Huff going to be capable? Is Sweat going to step up? I kind of wrote off and forgot about, almost to an extent, Nolan Smith, and it's good to see. Maybe he's that secret weapon that steps up. And the linebackers, say what you will about them. And we spent a lot of time yesterday on this show talking about the linebackers. That the reports are they're going sideline to sideline really well. But we're not hearing anything about them dropping into coverage. Oh. We're hearing Garrett Calcaterra having a good camp. We're hearing CJ Uzomah. When you're hearing backup tight ends having a really good camp, it doesn't really bode well for your linebackers who are typically covering them. Is it? Are you more hopeful in like Nolan Smith being that guy to step up to, as someone asked, a few minutes ago, we need our number 1 pick from last year, to step up? Is it more on Nolan Smith than Bryce Huff? Maybe to fill that void that's left from Hassan Reddick, and maybe Howie Roseman read that room right, getting rid of Hassan Reddick as well. But I still have that concern with Bryce Huff, and Vic Fangio does too, because that honesty from Vic Fangio, on Bryce Huff, and then you start seeing Nolan Smith step up. I think it's all all connected somehow there.
I do think it's all connected too. I think you're absolutely correct on that. I think what you need to, or what we need to keep in mind is what is going to happen when the linebackers and or these potential edge rushers need to drop in coverage. Because I feel like we're still in the same type of situation that we were last year and perhaps even the year before. I don't know, in this cover 6 Vic Fangio offense where linebackers and safeties really need to cover in space, I don't know if the personnel is on this Eagles defense in order to get that done in an effective fashion. I really don't. I haven't seen anything thus far from Devin White. I mean, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has apparently had some pretty good reps in practice as well. I don't know if he can cover in space. I don't know if Zach Bond is going to be able to cover in space. That is what I am extremely concerned about because tight ends have killed this team time and time again throughout the regular season and the playoffs because that cover that dropping into coverage, whether you're on the edge or whether you're a linebacker, just hasn't happened. Phil, I'm really concerned about that.
Now that you're saying that, I'm trying to think back, and I can't even remember the last time we had a great coverage linebacker.
TJ Edwards was not terrible by any stretch.
He looks great now compared to what we've seen the last year and
exactly.
Change, but,
Nigel Bradham was not terrible either, but we haven't had that great linebacker that's been able to cover in space honestly, I can't even remember.
I can't. I'm sitting here thinking about like some of my early shows I did 4 or 5 years ago when I first started doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm remembering a Rams game in September where, the Rams tight end had like 3 touchdowns against us in 2020. And I'm like, that's how far back I'm thinking that we've been bad at this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
When saying he was terrible, TJ Edwards. Yeah. Nolan Smith is a great athlete, but he's not wired to be a great edge rusher.
I think we got to put the brakes on that.
Everybody wants that crazy Seth Joyner. But,
Mista. I honestly, I know where you're coming from with it, but I think we got to put the brakes on it because there is something to be said for development in the NFL and specifically at the pass rush position as well. Yes, I would love another Seth Joyner in here, Mista. As much as I would love that, I don't know if we're in that era of football necessarily because these guys aren't necessarily built the way Seth Joyner was in terms of body build and how the game is actually played these days. Yeah, of course there's similarities, but we're in a different era of football right now, and we got to see that development happen. I think with Nolan Smith, again, a former first-round pick, as it's been noted in the comments. It's got to happen, and can Vic Fangio and the relationship that he has with these players get them to the next level? We see it with Jeff Stoutland constantly from an offensive line perspective. Let's hope this happens with Vic Fangio and these players.
See a couple of people saying Kendricks is the last year, and I was thinking of Kendricks.
Yeah,
but I couldn't think that I couldn't believe that there hasn't been somebody to Kendricks level since Kendricks. So that's why I didn't mention it. I'm like, I have to be missing somebody, but that might be it. We do this every day, this show, Jeff, and we're talking to Jeffrey Warren, Philadelphia Sports Table podcast. Guys, make sure you follow him, find him. He does great shows, great work on it. Now for 11 years, running now.
Thanks, buddy.
Philadelphia PST. Because we do this show every day, we don't talk generally. We talk specifics, especially with Eagles camp. And so yesterday, something specific from Eagles camp happened that got me really excited for not just this year, but the future. And I don't know if you read up on the battles in camp between A.J. Brown and rookie first-round pick Quinyon Mitchell.
I love it.
And I think there's so many levels to the stories of them doing one-on-one battles. One, the development it helps Quinyon Mitchell. The attitude of Quinyon Mitchell not backing down. It is something, when I was reading all the different beat reporters talking about Quinyon versus A.J., I'm like, for the next 5+ years, we're going to get these two guys in camp every year doing battle. And you love it because it makes both players better. It helps set an edge to the team. Do you get a vibe that that's a fantastic thing, Quinyon Mitchell versus A.J. Brown?
You look at Quinyon Mitchell's tape coming out of college, and you say, my gosh, he is going to be a special player in the NFL. The Eagles got him, and the Eagles got him where they did in the draft. And you say, my gosh, can he be even better? And yes, he can be. And who is a wide receiver to help make him that much better during the course of practices, during the course of being in the the defensive back room or the wide receiver room when they are talking off the field about the game as Quinyon Mitchell's learning about this game. There is no better individual than A.J. Brown to be able to push him, to be able to get him to that next level, to help with his development. Phil, it is a great storyline. I'm going to be talking about it on our podcast today when we do the recording with it, how wonderful it has been to see and read that niche storyline of Quinyon Mitchell. This is what development's about. And if he's able to absorb it, and take it in this early, this kid is going to be so special. Year 2, year 3, going into battle with A.J. Brown all the time, man.
Yeah, I've been told I'm wrong in thinking this. I always think like when you draft a cornerback that, in all intents and purposes, most years would have been a top 10 pick. not where he fell to us at whatever 17 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like he should have been a top 10 guy. And when you have that pedigree, you should be starting day one, in my opinion. And a lot of people are saying, no, pump the brakes. He needs time to develop. I almost think like when I hear these stories of him battling, and not just battling and losing, winning on some occasions against arguably one of the 3 best wide receivers in football.
Yeah.
Like maybe it helps develop him faster. And maybe we see him on the field week 1 or 2 a little bit sooner than maybe we originally would have. So it's not just development for the next 3 years. It's development right now. And on top of it all, I praise Howie Roseman for seeing the need at cornerback and attacking that cornerback position and bringing in someone like Quinyon Mitchell right away. Cooper DeJean, who is hurt right now, but we've got him there. It just makes him better, makes him more viable to play week 1 when he's doing this. And I love seeing it. And I hope that maybe there's a little budding rivalry / friendship forming there between the 2 of those guys.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what's really important too, Phil, coming out, we talked about this after the draft, my co-hosts and I, that it is high time for this Eagles organization to start playing rookies right out of the gate. You have to do it. You have to give them the experience of being on the field every now and again. Yes, there may be some hiccups. There may be some hiccups here and there. And I think that if you are going to take a talent like Quinyon Mitchell and keep him on the bench, you're not doing him any good at all. You're not doing him any good, And I was just looking at the Kenny Gainwell thing. God bless. I don't know.
There's always a Kenny Gainwell comment every show,
Exactly. Exactly. Here, I'll get to that in just a second, but really quick.
Don't even talk Kenny Gainwell. Talk Saquon Barkley and his addition instead. Because that's going to be where the real running back comes from.
Yeah, really quick. I think Quinyon Mitchell could be that cornerback too. Week 1 against the Green Bay Packers down in Brazil. I think it's absolutely possible. Keely Ringo is having a great camp thus far. Isaiah Rodgers. It is a great problem for this Eagles organization and us fans to have, where we don't know who it's going to be because of the high level of talent heading into this season. So I'm really, really psyched on where the cornerback room is at this point.
Final Eagles question before we start the wrap-up process here with some other fun things. Saquon Barkley, thoughts on him, join the team. You've watched a lot of football in your lifetime.
Yeah.
The addition of Saquon Barkley is something that, it doesn't even, I remember getting excited when Ricky Waters got signed to the Eagles, but this is like a different level, in my opinion, Saquon Barkley. I can't figure out a comparison to the excitement the addition of someone like Saquon Barkley reminds me of in the Eagles.
I'll be honest, like my comparison from a sheer offensive standpoint, and it's more recent. It's honestly when the Eagles traded for AJ Brown, and I was just like, oh my gosh, too, yeah. When AJ Brown, when I knew AJ Brown, the night of that NFL draft was going to be coming to this Eagles team, it helped recreate and reshape this Eagles offense. And you knew that the Eagles were in a good position, understanding and knowing it's a passing league now, and how are they going to end up stepping up and taking things to the next level. Same thing with Saquon Barkley here. I didn't realize it. I heard it recently. I'm forgetting where I heard it from, Phil, that the Eagles haven't had a running back that's had over 60% of snaps since 2019. And I think we're going to end up seeing that with Saquon Barkley being a bell cow running back, being that 3-down back. I don't think we're going to have to rely on a rookie being in there taking 50% of the snaps with Will Shipley. So I'm really excited about that. And just having a more vertical style of offense and run game. It just doesn't have to be to the outside all the time. Let's get down the field. Let's get down the field.
You bring that excellent point up about the snap count for the running backs, and something we've talked about off and on this show a lot over the last couple of weeks. Like, what will his usage be? Because you think about it, DeAndre Swift was still really good last year. Yeah. He really only played like 55 to 45 to Kenny Gainwell last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't foresee any way that the Eagles stick to that plan, and you don't see Saquon. Maybe a little bit more than 60%. Right now, I think the EOP YouTube page has a poll, and I think the 70% range is what's winning. That people think that's where he'll fall.
I don't know if it'll be that high. I think it'll be under. I think it's going to be probably around 60 to 65%. That's my initial.
That's
thought.
What I think as well.
Okay.
But there are a lot of people that are Eagles fans that want to see him tote the ball 28 times a game. Plus catch the ball. But the thing is, you also got to remember, you still have AJ Brown, you still have Devontae Smith,
exactly.
You still have Dallas Goedert. Jalen Hurts still needs his touches as well. there's a lot of mouths to feed. And while I don't worry about the locker room culture and people getting jealous of other people, I do worry that there's a lot. 75, 85% is a lot to expect. Plus, you want Saquon healthy for the playoffs when we get
Absolutely. I think there's a word, too, that us Eagles fans really need to keep in mind, and that is balance.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see, and I think Kellen Moore is going to bring that to this team. We're already seeing how this offense has been revamped, especially where we all hear about it, the pre-snap motion. But I think what was really interesting coming out of camp yesterday was the amount of play-action rollouts that were happening as well. I don't necessarily think we're going to be seeing that a lot during the preseason games necessarily, but man, play-action rollout. I'm really excited about play-action
rollouts and pre-snap motion.
Oh,
That's all you keep hearing about.
Yes,
from camp right now, and it's fantastic.
What's the modern NFL passing game? Exactly. Like, that's what it is.
Somebody put up the stat on Twitter the other day about the percent of snaps with pre-snap motion, and the Eagles weren't just last year. They were like last by like a marathon, like, I mean, it was pretty drastic, and it makes no sense for an offensive team not to be able to do that. All right, we always have one fun question to end every interview with.
My mic?
No, we're not going to talk about the mic. I'm going to make it 2 because you're a big music guy. Yeah. I'm a big music guy. So question 1 that we ask every guest before we end the show. It's not my question. It's the commenters' question because they remind me every time I forget to ask, why didn't you ask? Goodfellas or Godfather? You have to watch one.
Goodfellas.
The last 3 guests have all said Goodfellas. We're on a Goodfellas run right now.
I just love the movie. My wife and I both love the movie. We watch it at least a few times a year. And I love The Godfather too, of course. But man, Goodfellas for me, you're not going to get better than Ray Liotta in there. You're just not.
The scene when he's taking her through the basement of the restaurant for that first date.
What a shot.
That scene, that single camera shot. Oh, I'll just let him watch the car for me. Here's 20, this and that. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in all of movie history right there.
The cinematic aspect of what that movie is incredible. Pull back the curtain a little bit. I have a side business where I'm a videographer. Okay. I do videography. And so I look at this stuff. I look at lighting. I look at different types of shots. But you're right. That walking shot of them through the basement going into the restaurant, one of the greatest movie shots of all time.
I love it. All right. Yep. So you're a big music guy. So am I. I don't go to many concerts anymore just because I've gotten tired of crowds. I prefer the local scene and at the bars and stuff.
Yeah.
Best concert you've seen in the last 12 months?
In the last 12 months? Oh my gosh. There's so many. So I go deep with my metal.
We're friends on Facebook and we follow each other on Instagram. I see all your pictures from concerts. You guys go to a lot of shows, and I love that you bring your daughters to the concerts with you sometimes, because I think kids need to be exposed to music on that level, not just, to a little bit bigger scale. I really do. Yes. So I love that. So best concert you've seen?
I think I'm gonna go with 2. I'm gonna say it's a grindcore band called Pig Destroyer. They were fantastic out in Mechanicsburg, PA. Yeah, I mean, if you want to hear like that type of stuff, that's what you're gonna hear with Pig Destroyer. It's grindcore metal, and I would also say, seriously, this past week, and probably because it was just a special moment for me, when my wife and I were out in Hershey and we saw the Def Leppard concert. We weren't able to get to the show in Philly. We're out in Hershey seeing Def Leppard. Back when my wife and I were 15, 16 years old, best friends in high school, we went to see their show when they were in Allentown together. And it was just a nostalgic type of thing. And Def Leppard is a tight band, given their age, just given where they're at. It was a great show.
No, somebody in our comments, Adam, was at the concert as well.
Oh, nice.
He used one of our promo codes to get tickets, and he was there, and he said the same thing, that the whole concert was fantastic and stuff like that. I love going to I much rather go and see 3 or 4 bands perform an hour and a half each than one band perform for 3 hours at this time. I want different taste. But every report I've heard is that was a fantastic concert. I'm glad you got to go to that. I'm glad you answered that, because at least I know a little bit about that one there. I've never heard of, what's it called? Pig Destroyer.
Pig Destroyer. Never heard of that one. I will say Tool at the Wells Fargo Center was fantastic. I mean, they're one of my all-time favorite bands, and I remember playing songs on my guitars from their Anima album, which came out in the 90s. Fantastic show too. That's right up there as well. Tool, definitely.
Deep saying Metallica's on his bucket list. Do you have a bucket list concert you haven't seen yet?
I've seen Metallica a few times in my life. My dad took me on the Injustice for All tour when they were in Allentown, and it was great. I got to see them right now. The 72 Seasons album is a really good album. I'd love to see Metallica. I'd love to see AC/DC too, but they're only touring over in Europe. Believe it or not, my best friend from college, he's going over with his wife to Ireland to check them out. I'm very jealous, but those are two bands on my bucket list for sure.
There you go. All right, guys, Jeffrey Warren, Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast.
Thanks,
where
buddy.
Can they find
Appreciate
you?
it.
Where can they find the podcast? Obviously, you got the podcast Twitter handle there next to your name.
Yep.
Give everybody where they got you and what you got dropping and when this week.
You can just search Philadelphia Sports Table on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, all major podcast platforms. You can head on over to PhiladelphiaSportsTable.com. We've got all of our shows over there as well. We've got some fun movie review shows too. If you go to the PST Specials tab on PhiladelphiaSportsTable.com, we've got it all there for you. Phil, dude, it was great talking to you. Thanks for the opportunity, man. It's always fun talking Philly sports with you.
I love it. Thank you very much, Jeff, guys. Everybody, find this guy, follow him. This guy's one of the best right there. Thank you very much,
I appreciate you. I appreciate you, my friend. Take care.
Yeah, have a good one. Guys, that was Jeffrey Warren, Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast. Make sure you follow my man. Find him. He is great. Lots of comments to get to, but real quick, guys, you're watching Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Hit that like, share, subscribe, follow, retweet button, wherever you're watching on whichever platform. Make sure you do that for me, guys. And, of course, if you need tickets, like I just mentioned, if you want to go see a concert this summer, because you don't want to see the Phillies, go to SherryTickets.com. Great prices, no hidden fees on your sports tickets, concert tickets, theater tickets. They've got it all. The price you see is the price you'd pay. Not a $50 ticket, then you get the checkout with fees. It's $200. Not at SherryTickets.com. Plus, you can use promo code EOP10. It gets you 10% off on top of that. So, guys, check out SherryTickets.com for all your tickets. Great prices. Don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best. SherryTickets.com. Saw Metallica at the Meadowlands last August. It was amazing. I was just mad because, that's another thing there. I've never seen Metallica or I love that kind of music. Not as much anymore because I'm a little bit more calmer in the music taste right now. But I've not seen enough of the big, heavier rock bands live in concert. I don't know why. Like, I've seen a lot of local bands. Like, what was their name? There was one local band back when I was in college that my buddy was friends with the lead singer of, and I don't even remember their name now. I saw them and all the local heavier metal rock bands like in bars all throughout the late 90s, early 2000s, but I never went to see the big names. So there was that. What was their name? Jeez, I forget. Should have asked if he needed a lawyer. I'm sure Jeff has got a lawyer. Jeff also is a very big politician or public servant, as he likes to call it. Jeff's going to run for president one day, and I'm going to be the secretary of the podcast, and I'm going to do this show from the Oval Office when Jeffrey Warren is in charge of the country. Scariest Gangster was Tommy. He was more of a loose cannon, unpredictable for sure. I've seen Foo Fighters a few times. They are terrific. I've seen them in festivals. I've never seen them on their own, so I've never seen them for more than an hour, Deebs. I don't know. I respect Dave Grohl as a talented musician. I respect Dave Grohl for what he has done being in bands like Nirvana and Foo Fighters and what he's done for other bands and musicians. The Foo Fighters, they're all right. I don't love them. I don't hate them. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're bad. I just feel Foo Fighters to me are just, I don't know why I feel that way about them. Because everything tells me that they're a great band. But I feel, when I hear a Foo Fighters song come on, what else is on the radio first? Nothing else. All right, let's go back and listen to the Foo Fighters song. Like, I don't know how I feel about the Foo Fighters. A heavy metal band like Metallica, I don't understand what they're talking about. It's like reading Shakespeare. Listen to the live at Wembley album. It rocks. A Wembley album. It rocks. Gotcha. Trending in the Oval. Yeah, we'll need a new logo for that one. Trending in the Oval Office. There you go. I like that one. I do, Steve. Good. But we'll need you to come up with another graphic. Just like the fire graphic you created for the hot take of the day, which I don't even know what my hot take of the day is going to be. I don't. You know what? I could do a pizza shop hot take. Here we go. The Skip Payless hot take of the day. Look, I'm hiring at my pizza shop. I need employees at my pizza shop. I need people to show up. I put out job postings on all the sites. I've got one cat that's applied 5 times to the same job. over the last month and hasn't responded to one inquiry to come in for a job interview. 5 times. So finally, when he replied for the fifth time yesterday, I responded, I am not interested, even though I'm desperate, because I have now responded to you 5 times and I still have never heard back from you. Why apply for a job if you don't actually want the job? Why waste my time setting up an interview, going through a screening process if you don't want the job? Why apply to a job that you have no intentions of even remotely? Do you have that much time to waste? Like, seriously. Drives me freaking nuts. Drives me up a wall. But anyway, that's the hot take. You know what I'm going to do? If this guy applies anymore, I'm going to call David Archeri and have him put a stop order in place so this guy can stop harassing me with job applications. If you need a lawyer in the state of Pennsylvania, workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law, call the best in the state of Pennsylvania, David Archeri. CherryInjuryLaw.com, 610-565-0300. Let him fight for you. Let him get you what you deserve. He is the best, and he will fight for you more than any other lawyer out there. Again, his number, 610-565-0300, or go to CherryInjuryLaw.com. And, of course, the cherry bombs are incoming. Keeps his parents happy. Who? What? I'm not sure what that is. Oh, that applied for. He just wants the unemployment check. That's what I always tell myself, K1. That is what I tell myself on a regular basis, that when they apply but don't actually respond, they just are just making a proof that they're trying and they didn't get the job. So, yeah, that's that. You need Luca Brazzi. It's Brazzi to take care of Tommy when he gets out of control. Yeah. When the last time the Phillies won a game? Well, a couple days ago. Well, maybe more than a couple days ago. But this is a perfect opportunity to reset the show here. You know, there's about 15 minutes left today in the show. We are talking Phillies falling fast. We're talking Eagles training camp. Lots of good things came out of Eagles training camp. And I much rather prefer to, normally I like to give the Phillies the attention they deserve. But the Phillies are so damn depressing right now that I don't want to talk about the Phillies. That I'd much rather talk about practice. I'd much rather talk about A.J. Brown versus Quinyon Mitchell. Much rather that than talking about the dreck that is the Philadelphia Phillies. And the fact that I got crushed so heavily yesterday on social media again. Because, look, they have an opportunity to win a World Series. But they're not. Because too scared to make trades that are going to make this team better. And B, no way to light a fire under this team. We are talking about practice. Even though it's the most overrated cliche line out there, I'd rather talk about practice than I would about the Phillies. Everyone killed me. Everyone's like, oh, who do you want the Phillies to trade for? I did a show like 2 weeks ago, and I started naming names. I mentioned Jazz Chisholm, or whatever his name is. Everyone's like, oh, he's terrible. He's a locker room cancer. He's not a good hitter. You're going to have to overpay for him. Well, the Yankees got him for 3 middling prospects, and he just hit 4 home runs in the last 2 days against the Phillies. That wouldn't have helped this Phillies offense right now. But you would have had to give up a prospect. You know what? We gave up a prospect for Tanner Banks and then shipped Soto out of here. Like, I don't understand what Phillies fans want. They want the team to be better, but they don't want to actually do anything to make the team better. And it's so frustrating. We look beyond bad when we play really good teams. Well, yeah. Yeah. Lifeless is the word for me with the Phillies, Marshawn. Lifeless. They don't seem to care. They're just waiting for the playoffs to get here. They're just waiting, but this is not basketball. You cannot flip a switch just like that. There's no effort. It's not just striking out against a good pitcher. It's striking out on bad pitches. Look, yesterday was supposed to be wasn't yesterday supposed to be Garrett Cole's start? And they scratched him at the last second. When you get a scratch starting pitcher like that, you should be able to dominate whoever they just randomly throw in there because that person isn't prepared to start. But no. Did I voice crack? Did I miss it? I didn't even notice myself doing it. I don't think it was a voice crack. Has anyone heard about the second best cornerback that Smitty wanted us to draft? He's on the Lions. What? No. I don't know what we're talking about there. I know the Lions have drafted well over the last couple of years. for sure. Stranded runners on load-up base. Yeah. The other game, was it Sunday, Marshawn, that they loaded the bases? I think they had like 5 runners left on base, all with less than 2 outs in the first 2 innings on Sunday, and they stranded all 5. I don't make big bucks like Jeff, okay? I don't get the money to have a setup like Jeff. Just been doing this for 11 years. I've been doing it for 4. Excuses, I know. But you know what? I appreciate my $30 Temu setup here. All right? That's what we got. I believe in Joe Hendry, too. Terry and Arnold. That was another guy. The Eagles could have drafted Terry and Arnold instead of Quinyon Mitchell, and we gifted him to the Lions. That's fine. I'm very happy. Look, I love, and if anybody else wants to talk, we talked about it with Jeff, our guest, but if anybody wants to talk about it, I love the stories coming out of camp yesterday about the one-on-ones, wide receivers versus cornerback drills, A.J. Brown versus Quinyon Mitchell, and what that does for the confidence and the growth of a rookie like Quinyon Mitchell to battle A.J. Brown and get the better of him sometimes. The trash talking, the jawing back and forth in a friendly teammate way. It excites me so much when I see those reports. How can the Phillies win just 3 games since the break? This is embarrassing. Look, Rain Cloud, Big Horse, embarrassing. Not just the last 3 games since the All-Star break, since going back to the London series. Is it 20-21 or 20-22? Something like that. They're going to have a losing month here in July. I think they're 10-12 right now this month. The Phillies are atrocious right now. They could care. I've joked about it a bunch of times. Why don't the Phillies fans just go give them a standing ovation or something? Maybe that's what it fixed Trey Turner supposedly. I don't know. They got to do something. Who's got a day off today? I don't think they do. And stop with the Olympic stink talk. Simone Biles, if you're not watching that shit, impressed like hell, then I don't know what we're talking about. I switched to the Olympics last night in the middle of that Phillies game because I couldn't watch it. I would much rather watch Olympic sports. Much rather than watch what the Phillies are putting out on the field every single day. And again, I just can't comprehend how Phillies Nation is letting the Phillies off the hook. Eagles Nation would never. Sixers Nation would never. Hell, even Flyers Nation would be more pissed off than Phillies Nation. But God forbid you criticize the team. God forbid you say anything negative about Rob Thompson. Or God forbid you say Bryce Harper needs to run a little harder to first base. You don't know what you're talking about. It's really weird, the difference between Phillies Nation and the rest of Philly sports fans. You guys are wrong. Yeah, Paris is having some water issues. It is water, not water. Water issues for sure. When does Team USA play again? The basketball team. I don't even know. Anyway, guys, one final sponsor of the day today, and that's Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park. I need a drink after today's show. I need a drink after thinking about the Phillies. Well, if I do need a drink, I go to this place. For 65 plus years, great food, great times, great drinks, memorabilia giveaway. Dolan's Bar, Ridley Park, 24 East Sellers Avenue. Make sure when you go in there, tell PJ and the crew that Edge of Philly Sports, Trend in the AM sent you. DolansBar.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, on all social media platforms. Check them out. The best in the Delaware County area right there. And, of course, guys, make sure you hit the subscribe, follow button, whichever platform you're watching on. 7-day-a-week program. We got Phillies-Yankees postgame show, Philly Press Box Radio, and EOP Live today on the channel. Lots of stuff happening on the channel today, this week, in general. So make sure you hit that follow and subscribe button, guys. Good NFL players are developed. Great NFL players are undeniably great as soon as they get to the league. So what are you saying there, Mr. Is Quinyon in the good or the great? I think Quinyon Mitchell on most teams could start immediately. I think that Quinyon Mitchell could still start on this team. I think Quinyon Mitchell, if it wasn't for Isaiah Rodgers and Keely Ringo having great camps, would be locked into the starting role already. But they are. So now the Eagles went from having a problem at cornerback to supposedly a positive. But again, Keely Ringo was here last year too. So Team USA plays at 3 today against South Sudan. All right, I guess I'll put that on at the shop today. Maybe I'll have that on for a little bit. I could care less about Team USA basketball. I'd much rather watch the tennis or not the tennis, the track and field and the swimming and the gymnastics and the badminton and the table tennis and all that stuff. Archery. I was watching archery. You guys see the archer the other day, and a bee landed on their finger right as she was letting go of the bow. Still hit bullseye or whatever. The concentration, the camera angle of catching the bee landing on the finger. It's crazy. I love it. People work their entire lives off for the Olympics, and it means so much to them. Almost like when the Hurts apologies come out in full force. Hold on a second. Let's backtrack. Because first off, I missed you in the beginning of the show. So I was trying to bring up the Rob Thompson criticism, and I wanted you to be around for the Rob Thompson criticism portion of the show. I am what you would call and title a Hurts apologist. I am 1,000%. Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback and the right guy to lead this team. But even I know that Jalen Hurts had a down year, second half of the season last year. I know that. I'm willing to admit that. I'm also willing to look at the bigger picture and be like, all right, the bigger picture says he's going to get better. I know Jalen Carter is great, and I think Mitchell is too, but we have to see how he performs on Sunday or Fridays or Thursdays or Mondays. But yeah, I get it. Jalen Carter had I think one of the winners from camp yesterday, first day of pads, was Jalen Carter, because every report of Jalen Carter yesterday was him wrecking havoc against the guys that were playing on the offensive line. Jalen Carter, we need Jalen Carter to take what he did last year, do it over 21 games, and do it even better than he did last year. Jalen Carter last year was a great defensive player. Jalen Carter needs to be even better than great. Jalen Carter needs to get closer to that Aaron Donald comparison. Jalen Carter needs to be the leader and the dominator of this defense. And he has the talent to do it. Do people still pick up women at bars? I've been married for a very long time. I joked about this a while ago. I would never date again if my wife and I separated. I wouldn't even know how to go about dating in this day and age. Like, seriously, do you even date anymore? Like, it's ridiculous. Tinder, yeah. No, thank you. Per Adam Schefter, National Football League and Sony announced a partnership naming Sony as an official technology partner of the NFL, as well as the new official headphones of the NFL. What? I don't even know what that means, really. Like, okay. I mean, great for Adam Schefter dropping that, getting that breaking news, but I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say about it. I don't even know how to comment on it. Was Bose out? I didn't even know Bose was in. Like, I don't know. I got my cheap free headphones that come with my cell phone. This is what I use. I don't got fancy equipment like Jeff does. I know y'all love Jeff's mic. Jeff also has a voice of radio. Jeff has a voice of a singer. Is it? Explain it to me in simpleton terms. Why is this huge? I don't understand. Like, I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff. Like, I don't know why it's a big deal. I don't know if it's a big deal. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway, with that being said, guys, we're going to start a slow wrap-up process because I'm going to see these last comments coming in. You're just kidding? I don't know, because Mitchie Pooh's comment was like, this is a big deal. I don't know if it's a big deal or not. Terrian is doing great, might start. Detroit's going to be a good team. Detroit's been building something for a few years now. I worry about Detroit. I do. They lost one of their key starters already to an ACL tear, but on the defensive line, maybe offensive line, I forget. But they've really been building something there, Eric, in Detroit. So I do like them. So tomorrow, we'll continue the Phillies conversation. especially if the Phillies lose today. I'm sure that the conversation will continue. Maybe they'll lose in a way today where I'm ready to criticize Rob Thompson again. Maybe not. I don't know. But I already know what the title of tomorrow's show is. All right, I do. Tomorrow's show's title, well, it's either going to be a question or a statement. It's either going to be titled, "Will Jalen Hurts win the MVP?" or Jalen Hurts will be the MVP. I dropped my bet. I didn't get it at 16-1 like Adam had said. It had fallen. I bet him yesterday 15-1 to be the league MVP, and we're going to discuss it. We're going to discuss the MVP odds and where he falls amongst the rest of the players. So baseball talk tomorrow and Jalen Hurts MVP talk tomorrow on the agenda. So that should be riveting entertainment right there. And, of course, Anthony DeBona will be on Friday for the first 20 minutes of the show. I agree. I like the Lions better than the Packers in the division. Absolutely. Yes. Bohm has not been well since the whole Aaron Dolan news broke. Yeah. I mean, good for him. Locking down someone of Aaron Dolan's stature, we'll say. I guess. I don't know. Did he use Tinder? How did that dating process go? I don't know. I don't know what happens in the dating world these days. Anyway, with that being said, off to work. Camp Pizza's neat made for the day. Camp's got one more day tomorrow, and that's it. We'll be back tomorrow talking Eagles, talking Phillies, talking Pig Destroyer. Did anybody ever hear of Pig Destroyer before Jeffrey Warren brought him up? I've never heard of the Pig Destroyer. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have a fun-filled show, jam-packed with all your comments tomorrow versus the guest. Friday will be a guest to kick off the show. Didn't even cover 9 things on the agenda today, but that's good because we got another show tomorrow, guys. With that being said, like, subscribe, follow, share. Do your thing, guys. Spread the word. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Yeah, happy pizza day. Yeah. Look, the pizza shop's been annoying as flockety flock lately. Customers are extra cranky. Employees are extra lazy. And just problems left and right for me. My mind is a puzzle right now with the pizza shop, just so you know. But with that being said, guys, you're watching Trend in the AM on Edge of Philly Sports. Like, share, subscribe, follow, retweet. You know the drill. Do it all for me. Spread the word. Tell one. Tell all, guys. With that being said, ring the bell. Let's get a win tonight, Phillies. Go Birds. And bubbles up to y'all.